Okay, so we're going to use Google Slides, which is Google's version of a presentation software package. We're going to use it to create illustrations for your report. So to kind of let you know what I'm talking about, if we go back to your report, this is the example one that I've started to create. And we go down to definitions, and we did the definition for a histogram to kind of, even though we explained everything about a histogram, in words, it always helps to have some kind of illustration or a figure to show what it is that you're doing and what you're talking about. And so for box plots, we're going to do something very similar. So this actually came from a Google Sheets spreadsheet and created a histogram chart of some data. So this is like an exact chart from data. But what if you wanted to create a general illustration yourself to kind of show what a box plot is and its different parts? That's what I'm going to show you how to do. So right here, we're in Google Docs, which is the software we're using to kind of create the report. And we're going to create the definition of a box plot later, but we're going to need an illustration for it. So let's go back to Google Slides. And when you first open Google Slides, probably it's going to look something like this, where you're looking at a blank slide and it already has some text in here. So these text boxes are just going to get in the way. So go ahead and left click on the edge to select the text box and hit delete key to delete it, and just get rid of both of those. You're not going to need them. All right. The other thing to notice here, let me go ahead and delete one of these, is that the slide dimensions are about 10 inches wide and maybe a little over 5.5 inches high. That's going to be too big of an image. And the way that Google Slides saves images is it saves the entire slide as an image. So what we want is not an image that's maybe 10 inches wide and 5.5 inches high. That won't fit in our document. We want something instead that's going to be 3 inches wide and 4 inches high. So how do we change the size of these slides? Well, in Google Slides, you do that by going to the File menu and then going to Page Setup. Well, let me bring up, let's see here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I just added this little highlighter so maybe you can see my cursor a little bit better. All right, so under Page Setup, we want to go to Custom. And under Custom, we want to make this 3 inches wide by 4 inches high and hit Apply. And you'll see now we've got the slides that are 3 inches wide and 4 inches high. So this is going to be the canvas that we're going to actually make our illustration in. Let's zoom this in a little bit so it looks a little bit bigger. And let's see if I do 100%. Yeah, that looks like that fits. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a vertical y-axis and a horizontal x-axis. So we're going to do that by adding a line. So I'm going to click line. And if I left click and hold the mouse button, now wherever I drag the second point is where it's going to make the end of that line. But you can see it can be difficult to make it perfectly vertical. So what you can do is hold down the Shift key, and now it snaps, the line snaps to certain 15-degree increments, and one of those is perfectly vertical. So while holding down the Shift key and dragging the mouse button, or dragging the mouse, you can kind of get a straight vertical line. And I'm going to let go somewhere right about here, like that. And now with the line selected, let's format it. So let's make this 3 points wide, so it made it thicker. And the default color is this dark gray. we want it to be black. So make it a black line. All right, now if we click out here, we can see the way it looks. That looks pretty good. So let's create now a horizontal axis. So again, we will select a line. We will start right here. And as we drag over, hold down the Shift key to make sure it's going to be an exact horizontal line and let go. And let's change that to 3 point and make it black. There we go. Now it looks like I'm off a little bit. So I'm going to maybe drag this down a little to there. Okay, that looks better. All right, now what we need are some tick marks off to the side. And so start drawing a tick mark somewhere in this open space here, and I'll explain why in a second. So let's draw a tick mark, maybe right here, a short one. Hold down the Shift key to make sure it's going to be horizontal. And about that big should do it. And let's make it 3 point, 3 pixels and black. Okay, that looks good. Select it again, hit Control-C to copy it, and then maybe paste it 9 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. All right, so now we've got 9 tick marks. Eventually we're going to put them over here, okay, but we're not there yet. So select this last one and let's move it maybe somewhere right about here. So I want my first tick mark to be right about here on the y-axis. All right, so now what you can do is select only the tick marks. That's why I created them over here, so that you don't accidentally highlight this vertical and horizontal line. We only want the tick marks. Come over here to arrange, and then put a line. Let's align them to the left. Okay, so that just aligned them vertically on edge. Then go to arrange again, go to distribute, and distribute vertically. And what that does is that takes all of the tick marks and it spaces them out equally from each other. And then we can select all of these and drag it over and maybe put it out there. All right, that looks good. Let's make another tick mark down here. We only need one. And let's drag Shift key. I'll make it about that long. Let go. Let's make it 3 pixels thick and make sure that it is black. All right, that looks good. Okay, so we've got the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. Now we actually have to make the box plot itself. So remember, the box plot is based off of a 5-number summary, which means it's got a maximum and a minimum line, as well as a 3rd quartile, a median, and a 1st quartile. So we need to create 5 horizontal lines as part of the box plot. So I'm going to make them about this wide. Okay, about there looks good. And let's make it 3 pixels and make it black. And let's see here. There we go. All right. And we need 4 more of these. So now I'm going to copy and then paste 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's move this one to what I'm going to call the minimum value position. So right there. And then the 1st quartile position right there. The median right about there. Then maybe the 3rd quartile somewhere right about there. All right, now as I was dragging these around, I was already kind of lining them up. So you can see where this red vertical line is showing up. That's lining up the center of this horizontal line to this vertical mark that I made down there. So that's what it's showing me. It's too high, move it a little bit lower. Right about there. All right. Now, if you wanted to make sure that these were all lined up, again, you could just select them, click on range, go to align. You could align left, you could align their centers, you can align the right hand edges. I'll just click center. Okay. So this maximum line and this minimum line, those are part of the whiskers. But what we need to do is we need to draw a vertical line from the maximum to the third quartile. Now I'm holding the shift key down again and then let go. Let's make that 3-point black. And then we want to draw another line from the minimum up to the first quartile, let go. And let's make that, 3-point and black. Oh, that kept the same color. That's good. All right. Now let's draw, wonder if I select that. Let's draw another line. Now we need to make the box. So it's going to go from here, hold down the shift key, down to about there, let go. Okay, so it's a little off. So I'm going to move this a little over to the left. That looks good. All right, now here's a trick. If I want to make a copy of this line, I can hold down the control key first, left click the mouse button and hold it, drag it over to where I want it, still holding down the control key, let go of the mouse button, and now let go of the control key, and it makes a copy of that line over where I dragged it. Okay, so what we've got here is our representative box plot with a vertical y-axis and a horizontal x-axis. And now we need to label these different parts. So now we can come to, let's see here. I think we can use this text box button, or I think you can do insert text box. Either one will work. And I'm going to click right here. And that's going to be the, and I want this font not to be Arial, but to be Times New Roman and bold and 18 points. Looks like I'm running out of room a little bit. Let's try that. There we go. And I'm going to drag that up to that point. Okay. Now the minimum is going to be down here. I can use the same trick I used to copy lines. I can copy text boxes. So if I hold down the control key and then left click and hold, let go of the mouse button, let go of the control key, and now it made a copy of that text box. And I can change that to be minimum. All right. Now we need median, Q1 for the first quartile, and Q3 for the third. So let's just take this, hold down the control key, drag up, see to about there. And let's change this to median. Okay, and then we'll do the same trick. Hold the control key down, left mouse and drag. And then we'll call this Q3 for third quartile. Make that a little smaller. And then same trick, left control, hold down the mouse button, drag down to about there. And let's call this Q1. Okay, good. So now we have each of these different parts of the box plot labeled. Now we need to have a horizontal axis and a vertical axis labeled. So let's make a copy of this text and put it right here. And we're going to call this variable. Make this a little bit bigger. There we go. And maybe move that to the left and the right. I'm trying to get this label to be right underneath, centered kind of on this mark. And that looks close enough. And I do want to make that a little bit bigger. Let's make it 20 point. So the axis font should be bigger than the font on the labels, or actually inside the plot area. All right, so now let's make a copy of this. And let's call this scale. Okay, so on this axis is going to be like in feet, miles per hour, or the units, okay? Now we need to align this vertically. So there's two ways to do it. One way you can do it is by clicking on this circular dot that's kind of hanging off this middle point. And if I do that, I can drag and rotate this. If I hold down the shift key, like with drawing lines, okay, it'll snap to like 15-degree increments. So we could stop right there. Or I think I can go to these three dots over here on the right-hand side and choose Format Options. And then under Format Options, under Size and Rotation Properties, I can come down here with 90% or 90 degrees. So if I click once, it rotates it 90 degrees. I click again, another 90, click again, and it looks like it's oriented the way that I want it. So now I can just drag that over and position it where I want it. That looks pretty good. Okay, so this is our basic illustration for a box plot. Looks pretty good if I say so myself. The last thing we need to do is we need to save this as a JPEG. And the reason why I wanted you to make this 3 inches wide by 4 inches tall is because when you go to the file menu and choose download, and you want to download it as a JPEG, you have to download or you have to save the entire slide, not just a part of it, but the whole part. So everything that we see in here is what's going to be in the JPEG. So click File, Download, JPEG. And it went ahead and made it, and it put it in my downloads directory. Okay, so now I've got a JPEG in my downloads directory that looks exactly like that. So this concludes this guided tutorial on using slide presentation software, Google Slides specifically, in order to make basic and simple illustrations that you can use in reports.